My son and I have just taken up ghost hunting and we're having a lot of fun. And part of that we use an EMF detector. The question is, what is its history? Where did it come from? What's the logic it's based on? And does it even work? Well, in today's video, we're going to find out. As I said, my son and I have actually taken up ghost hunting and we're having a lot of fun. And the thing is we aren't skeptics, but we're also not believers. I think we're probably somewhere in the middle. I found a gentleman by the name of Harry Price who died in 1948, and he was actually one of the first documented ghost hunters. He wasn't necessarily, I suppose, a believer, but he once again was sort of like a seeker as well. He certainly debunked a lot of people who said they had paranormal abilities. And the thing was he went in with an open mind, and I must admit, it struck a bit of a chord with me. And then, of course, naturally, I delved further into the ghost hunting equipment that we needed. And the first one I fell across was the EMF detector. We actually use an EMF detector ourselves, but I wanted to work out what does it do, how does it do it, and why does it supposedly detect ghosts? Someone put it perfectly for me that using the EMF detector is like trying to find an invisible man. You can't see the invisible man's shoes or feet, but you can hear their footsteps or you can see their footprints. So the thing is, the EMF detector is there to pick up what could be called the footprint of the ghost rather than to try and see them. Doing my research, I found out that the EMF detector was started to be used for ghost hunting in the 1970s and 1980s. But it didn't become really popular until the early 2000s when a TV show called The Ghost Hunter became really popular. Now, the EMF detector is used in a lot of different things apart from ghost hunting because it's there to detect radiation in different electrical appliances like, for example, TVs, computers, microwaves, wiring, walkie-talkies and so on. And the logic, I suppose, of the EMF is where the spirit, I suppose, can actually affect that field, affect the electromagnetic field around or on certain items. It's based on the energy transference concept, which I learnt in school, where energy is never created or destroyed, it is just transformed. And that is the logic that people use as a ghost hunter, is where our energy of being alive is transformed into something else, and that transformed something else has the ability to affect those fields. The thing is that the EMF detector can pick up a lot of different things, which aren't ghosts. Like, for example, it can pick up a microwave, it can pick up faulty wiring actually in the walls. So there's certain things you have to do to make sure that you eliminate those, so you're actually trying to track, hopefully, a ghost rather than just a faulty switch. Now, to use one successfully, what we've learned is a couple of tips we can share because they've certainly worked for us in a couple of our graveyard hunts we've done just recently. For example, we actually had what we thought was a soldier's ghost actually direct us to his grave, funny enough, a grave we were looking for that we couldn't find on our own.
What are these ones? 1993, we got more. I hope you guys can pick up this audio because the storms are blowing in. Whoa.
It's up to 987.
987, it's gone nuts since we got down here. Okay,
That's up to the 90s.
If we have come down here looking for particular graves, and this thing has gone nuts when we find those graves, this is Bon Scott all over again. If this... That's not his...
It's going so low now.
Sam.
Never mind. Never mind.
What? Sam.
It's glitching.
Not.
What?
That's Harry, the guy we've been looking for. Right there.
The first tip I would say is move slowly. The one thing we found when we were down in the graveyard just down here in Rockingham is that Samuel had to make sure he was moving slow enough to pick up the spikes. Because what you don't want is you don't want to focus on the EMF and then if it's a constant all the time, it's normally associated with something else. It's associated with something you may not be able to see, as I said, like power lines. But what you're looking for are the spikes, the ups and the downs. And the thing is that when you move slowly, you can also create what's called a baseline. Every time we go into a cemetery, Sammy and I always create a baseline, as well as obviously telling everyone who's maybe there, the ghost saying, we're just here to have fun, we're just here to say hello, please don't follow us home, all those type of things. And obviously we create a baseline usually at the front, so I can then determine where there may be some things that might be actually creating it to go off the scale, so we don't get negative readings. And once I have that baseline, if we need to reset, I can go back to that baseline, which is normally the entrance to the graveyard or wherever we're going. And the thing is then is when you move slowly and you have a baseline, you can then look for those spikes and then adjust accordingly. Which leads me on to the next tip, which is make sure you don't just rely on the EMF. For us, we actually have downloaded the EMF to our phone, and Sammy uses that because it's really easy for me to carry. I'm probably thinking of getting another EMF detector so I can have two of them, one handheld, one on the phone, so I can make sure that they're both saying the same thing. And the thing is once we actually detect something on the EMF, we move to another part of the app, either the Spirit Box or the Ghost Tube or the Ghost Hunter apps, and we use something else in there to confirm it. Using the EMF and then other apps helps confirm what you're looking for rather than maybe send you on a wild goose chase. We've used many different things, as I said at the beginning of the video, and one of them actually stands out to me was Bon Scott. We actually went down to Bon Scott's grave here in Fremantle, and he was the lead singer of AC/DC. And we were walking around for about 45 minutes trying to find Moondyne Joe's grave. We couldn't find it. I can't read maps. I'm hopeless. Literally walking around and around. So what we did was use the EMF detector to have a look, and we found a seat to sit at which was having some spikes. Then we used another part of the app to then start talking to whoever was around us. And we ended up working out that we may have been speaking to Bon Scott.
I'm actually freaking out. Like, are you okay?
And all naturally then that led us on to a total adventure through the graveyard where Bon led us to a different grave, he led us to a captain's grave, he led us to another Joseph. It wasn't Moondyne Joe's, but it was another Joseph. He then also knew that Sammy had brown eyes because we were looking for his iPad. He knew we were nearly there. And we also had a conversation with him about his favourite song he ever made. Now, I actually thought it was going to be Thunderstruck, which I thought was their largest song, but it wasn't. He started speaking about hell and their largest song, which just happened to be The Highway to Hell.
Something bigger.
Something big or what?
You asked him what song he liked. Something bigger. What was bigger than TNT? Thunderstruck, but he actually didn't sing that. Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell.
Did you like Highway to Hell, which is Canning Highway near our house?
Which is also a song that he sang, I believe, in 1976, before he died in 1980. Now that was extremely freaky. Is it coincidence? Perhaps. But the EMF detector actually led us to that. And I have to admit, I'm finding it a little bit hard to explain how that happened. So the big question comes down to, do EMF detectors actually work in detecting ghosts? I don't know. I haven't got enough information yet. But what I do know is when Sammy and I have used them together, they have led us to an adventure that, to be honest, I find pretty hard to explain. Is it a coincidence? I have no idea. But I think we're going to have to probably get some more ghost hunting tools. And if there's any tools that you use, please do me a favour. Let us know in the comments, because I'd really like to know what you use so we can grab them and use them ourselves, especially with a couple of the other adventures we've got planned so far. At Ghost Hunting Adventures, we're going to be going to Kenwick to look for the Headless Horseman out there at the Kenwick Cemetery. We're going to be spending the night at the Fremantle Jail, one of the most haunted places in Perth, as well as going to the Roundhouse for a private behind-the-scenes night tour, which I want to take those things along as well to see what we can see. Obviously, I'm definitely going to be taking an EMF detector, but what else do you think we should take? Please let us know in the comments. As always, stay safe, keep hunting. I'm off.